Hello there, it is Liam, as I'm sure you're aware if you're listening to this podcast, since my podcast is named the Liam Maxwell Podcast, and that is my name. Not giving away my middle name though, because, some people might want to delve deep into my shit, and who would want to delve deep into my shit? I'm just going to give you some deep shit because that's what I do on most of my podcasts. So, anyway, seeing as I'm paying for the premium Spreaker app now, I've got 44 minutes and 18 seconds remaining. So I've got a 45-minute podcast potentially to do. I hope I can speak for that long myself, but I'm sure not many people, if anyone, wants to listen to me talk for that long. Let me just give you a little background. Not a background, it's just right now, like in the present moment where I'm at. It's currently 2:59 going on 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm in Brisbane. I'm in Indooroopilly. I'm in the bush. I'm on my own. I'm on a walking path in a track in some bush. I have no idea where the fuck it is. Sorry for swearing. There's a kookaburra sitting on a little branch in front of me, and I'm looking at him, and I've been talking to him for the last 10 or 15 minutes. Oh, he's just switched around like he's listening to me. Finally. Hey, Cookie. Kookaburra. That's my kookaburra noise. I'm not very good at it. My grandpa is good at kookaburra noises. Anyway, so I decided I'd make a podcast because it's been a while since I've made one. And I know, the kookaburra flew away. He must have found a worm or some food or something. And I know it's been a while. And I know all of my incredible listeners, which is very few, but all of those people I am incredibly grateful for that actually do listen to this, because all of them know that my intentions and my purpose in life is simply to help to awaken and enlighten others to truth and to higher truths, to live in a more wise way, to live in a way in which I know is possible. I more than believe is possible. I know it's possible for this world to be a world in which not only humans but all sentient beings live in a way that is connected, that is harmonious, that is peaceful, that is loving, that is kind, in which we are kind to one another, and in which there are no wars, there are no such thing as cruelty and suffering, and because we don't subscribe to that. Of course, where we place our attention, as I've said before in many podcasts, where we place our attention is where we place our energy. And if we are understanding of the truth, if we are understanding of the truth of reality, of the truth of the nature of the universe, the nature of the earth, we understand that we are living in a realm, in a dimension, in which all matter, all that we perceive around us, all that is pure just energy. And if all is energy, then if we place our attention, which is where we place our energy, on things that are going to be beneficial and have a positive effect for not only in the present but in the future, then life as we know it will continue to get better and better, and we will live in a more beautiful world. Now, as I do with most of these podcasts, I'm going to read a few of the little essays that I write on my OneNote app. And currently I'm scrolling through there as I talk on this podcast, and I'm trying to work out which ones I'm going to read. Now, the first one I'll read, I wrote on Friday, the 4th of March, not too recently enough, 2022, and I'll just read it and see. You can tell me what you think, and if you don't have an opinion, that's fine. But I'd love to hear your opinions, as I always love to see all aspects and sides and ways in which people perceive different stories. And this is the story of what I wrote on Friday, 4th of March, 2022. Life is a series of moment-to-moment experiences. The only way to wisdom is to be willing enough to expose yourself in vulnerable ways in which you are not afraid to fail, and to fail in ways that may have you laughed at and ridiculed by others. Then, after you have failed on such a grand scale, in which most people will look down on you and doubt your ideas and tell you that you will never do anything worthy of their respect or acceptance, when you do eventually succeed, as daring to fail again and again does eventually lead to a success, those same people who doubted you and told you you would never amount to anything or never achieve anything worthy of accolades will try to be your friend and tell you how great you are, and most often try to make themselves look good. As you already know, they never believed in your ability, so you ignore them, and they will be dwelling in regret. Only then do the naysayers learn that they should never doubt anyone, for anything is possible, and anyone who has a bold idea that the majority don't believe to be possible, they are the only people who ever make true and lasting change in this world in beautiful ways. Never let the majority of normal people, with their limited beliefs, hold you back from striving for your dreams. Just go after it. You only get one shot. At least if you do fail, you tried. And that's worthy of so much more respect in my books than being a negative loser who judges and mocks someone simply because they tried, or simply because they don't want to see you succeed, or they are so close-minded and dull that they have no imagination to foresee how your dream could eventuate into bringing about a harmonious and loving world full of peace for all. That's the first little mini essay I'm going to read. I don't know if you guys can hear the sounds of this bush that I'm currently sitting in. I'm on a walking track that I stumbled upon in this bush in Indooroopilly up here in Brisbane. Can you hear it? There's the sounds of the insects. There's the sounds of the birds. There's a crow in the distance, just as I said that. Not sure if you guys can pick up on it. I don't know how good these Vivo phone audio recorders are, but there's definitely insects around. There's trees. You can hear the leaves swaying in the breeze. There's birds flying above me. The sun's just poked out, just as I speak. It's a moderately cloudy day. There's some blue sky. There's some clouds. It's a lovely day, really. I'm sitting in I'm just peaceful. I feel great. I've got my shoes off. I'm doing my earthing. Earthing is, of course, if I haven't discussed this before, and if some of you who may be listening aren't aware of what earthing is basically a practice where we get our skin, usually our feet or our hands, in contact with just pure earth. For example, the dirt, the sand if you're at the beach, the water if you're at the beach, or the ocean, or the river, or the grass. And it's been proven by science to be one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories and healing techniques and grounding techniques known to man. because we're obviously our skin is one of the most absorbent aspects of our body. And so if we're in contact with the earth in any way, whatever natural aspects, whatever natural elements of the earth that we're in contact with, then our skin is going to absorb that, because our skin is the first thing to come into contact with the earth. So we're absorbing all of the beautiful natural healing properties of the earth. And when we do that, for example, for me, I believe in astrology, and I believe in lots of the the star signs and all that sort of thing. I look into it a lot, and anything through my experience of life, and that's the only experience that I can talk from, because I'm the only one that's lived my experience. I haven't lived anyone else's experience. From what I've experienced, truth isn't just something that we can understand intellectually and that we can, research and study. And truth is something that we feel and experience through our emotions, through the way that we feel, which is from experiences, emotions come, and that is how we feel. And so for me, truth is something that we feel, because when for example, I may read something or I may experience something and I get a feeling and it just resonates and it just feels so true. Like I don't even have to think about it. It's just like, yeah, that's true. That's right. That can't not be true, because I've experienced it so many times, or it resonates so strongly with me that I'm just adamant. I've just got this intuitive knowing that it's true. And so I think lots of people seek truth by trying to read books endlessly and trying to study endlessly and research endlessly and intellectualize and rationalize and think about things. But truth comes from experience and emotional feelings more so, I think, than simply reading books and researching things and intellectualizing and whatnot. Anyway, that was a little rant. I'm still here sitting in the bush on this walking path, and I'm going to read the second little mini essay. It's not even a mini essay, it's like it's basically a paragraph from my OneNote. I'm just going through there and seeing if there's anything worthy of what I think might be something that could be beneficial to my listeners, or to the people listening to this podcast. Not my listeners, people listening to this podcast. I don't own anyone, they're not mine. So that's obviously my intention for this podcast. I think I've said it in both my YouTube, my SoundCloud, and on Spreaker, that my intentions for this podcast is simply to help human beings to evolve, and all sentient beings to help them evolve to a place of higher consciousness, a more loving, peaceful, harmonious world of coexisting beings. So that's all. So well, I'm not sure if I've said this in a previous podcast, but I'm going to read it anyway. I just saw it then and I thought, yeah, that's worthy. That's my own opinion, but here we go. I wrote this on Saturday, the 29th of January, 2022 at 11:31 a.m. The greatest souls who have ever blessed this earth with their presence, if we study history, were almost always misunderstood, often thought to be crazy or insane due to their nature as being totally different from the average human being. These beings, again when history is studied, almost always had something in common. In a tragically ironic way, the vast majority of them were forced to experience extreme suffering in all types of ways human beings can suffer, mostly due to the fact that they were very different, totally unique, and lived and acted in a way in which their fellow humans at the time that walked in the time that they walked the earth did not understand. This, although often was to their demise and they were killed for their indifference to the vast majority of people, allowed them to develop an extreme capacity for empathy. For example, when Jesus Christ spoke the words, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do," he was coming from a place of extreme awareness, as well as empathy, for he understood that the way in which the majority were living could be experienced by them in such a more beautiful way. Hence the messages he spoke in parables throughout the Bible, which were his attempts at conveying messages to the masses in order to help them to awaken to what is truly possible for them to live in heaven on earth. When we study human psychology and sociology, we see that there is this pattern that exists in the group human psyche. It all stems from the trait most humans have developed, which is to fear the unknown, or be frightened of that which they are not accustomed to, that they have never seen such a thing before. They have never seen such a thing before, so they fear it. So the tendency of the masses has always been to fear that which they are not used to. And as we all know, through fear, which is the opposite of love, stems violence, hatred, wars, genocides, and all of the other cruel, sick, twisted, morbid, and dehumanizing ways human beings have treated each other and caused themselves to suffer. When one is perceived as separate or different from another by some obvious physical characteristic, such as skin color, or in their way of acting, in their way of being, this breeds most people to think of themselves as being totally unfamiliar and disconnected from those others. We forget the truth that we are all human beings, billions of individuals who together coexist in absolute relationship with all of each other. The reason we are all interrelated and exist in an interconnected way is due to one simple fact. We are all one species. Until we all realize this and are able to end viewing each other's differences through a fearful lens, the suffering we have not yet been able to rid ourselves of inflicting upon each other will inevitably continue. With this awareness and knowledge, we can begin to see how we have been completely ignorant so as to how best to live and how to act towards one another. We must understand our true nature, ultimately in relationship with all other beings on our planet. Our true essence is to live in a harmonious way together, acknowledging our individual uniqueness, being aware of it, yet living in a whole, unified, holistic way. This is the only way forward for us. We must come to live out this truth in our thoughts, decisions, and actions, which ultimately and intimately create our reality. So that's that one. I'll see what else I've got up here. These are just my most recent OneNotes, which is, as I've said before, it's a Microsoft app, but I think it's dope because it like whatever you write, it just gets saved straight. Can I talk? It gets saved straight to a cloud, and it's up there for good. So obviously, I don't put dirty things up there. Maybe sometimes, but you know what? We can't have the good without the bad. We can't have the bad without the good. So, this reminds me of a quote from Carl Jung. I think I've definitely said it on another podcast. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. But the tree that extends up to heaven has roots that delve down to hell. That's the essence of what he was saying in the quote. I don't know if that's word for word what he said, but the tree that extends up to heaven has roots that delve down to hell. So you can't experience and appreciate the best of what life has to offer without experiencing the worst and suffering some of the worst things that life can offer. Because, like, there's no light without darkness, there's no darkness without light. That's the duality of the reality, this three-dimensional reality that we live in here on Earth. It's a duality is opposites. So duality means, in this three-dimensional reality, what I mean by duality is saying, there's a north and south pole. There's ups and downs. Nothing goes up without coming down. Nothing, like, there's no negatives and without positives. There's no hellos without goodbyes. Like, it's there's for everything in this earth has an opposite. That's duality. Duality. So that's that. But anyway, here's something I wrote on. There's a magpie or a kookaburra just flew by me. It's not fucking spring. Magpie shouldn't be swooping. No, it was a kookaburra. It's got a long beak. Fuck, they're beautiful birds. Oh, you can hear them in the distance. Hear that? I don't know if you heard it. I hope this Vivo picked it up. But man, I love kookaburras. And they didn't reply. I guess this human Liam, might not have that good of a kookaburra squawk. Wait a minute. Did you hear that? That sounded like a reply. Dope. I do have a good kookaburra squawk. You! I think that was a kookaburra replying to me. Anyway, next little mini essay. I feel like I'm a Mexican. And no racism here. Obviously, I'm not racist. Anyone who knows me knows that. But a essay. Here's my mini essay. Monday, the 21st of March, 2022. At 8:07 a.m., I wrote this. I started a business on Mother's Day, May 11th, 1997. The day I was born. I immediately went into the business of light. Hello, are you a butcher bird? Are you eating a bug? You just flew down right next to me. Are you a butcher bird or what are you? You're a cutie though. Anyway, I want to start this one again. Flew away because clearly I'm trying to make a podcast, man. Don't distract me. I'll start again. I started a business on Mother's Day, May 11th, 1997, the day I was born. I immediately went into the business of light. Unlike Edison, these weren't your average light bulbs. No, since I can remember, since the earliest days of my inception, I've been a seeker of truth, knowledge, wisdom, love, happiness, and, essentially, light. In the business of light, unlike the vast majority of the current economic pursuits businesses and corporations pursue, we spread love, light, wisdom, and truth with the intention of freeing the majority of human beings who today could be considered as, in inverted commas, slaves to the system. The system, like the Matrix in that famous movie series, is simply a combination of all the institutions that have been methodically and implemented since the Industrial Revolution to keep the masses oppressed, in poverty, and in service to the global economy, rendering themselves completely dependent on money to do so much as live in this world. This is not the way humans are supposed to live. If this is not evident to you by now, then I'm sorry to tell you, but you are unaware, unconscious, and more than likely, you have been conditioned and programmed to serve this system in exactly the way it wants you to, by keeping you unaware and unconscious of the ways in which it operates. If I have to die to speak the truth, and the truth I continue to seek and spread once I have acquired it, whilst on this business mission I have been continuing since birth, then so be it. But just know, this incarnation in human form is simply one manifestation of the continuous infinite soul journey that I and all other beings on this planet are on. Much love and of course light, Liam. I've been sitting here in this bush for quite a while, so I've got this intuitive little hunch or feeling that maybe I should get out of here. But you know what? I'm going to say one more thing, because I did just find this one on my OneNote, and I wrote it on the 14th of March 2022, and I think it's probably the best one I've got to offer today. So I'm just going to say it, and then we'll end the podcast, so you don't have to hear me talk for too much longer. All right. So many people say they seek freedom and truth, but in actual fact they deny and suppress it when it's offered to them on a silver platter. True liberation comes when we are aware of the mechanics of the universal laws, the way, the Tao, as it is spoken of in Eastern cultures, and the true flow of life. Most people are too fearful of what may occur when they see this genuine truth, because deep in their subconscious, they have an inner knowing that they consciously deny, that living a comfortable lie and living in ignorance will keep them safe, so that they don't have to face this fear that the majority of human beings have. This is why the majority are so easily controlled and manipulated by those who control the systems and that propagate and perpetuate all of the world's economic corporations that keep the masses enslaved to these same systems. If you say you seek truth and continue to blindly live a lie, or consciously put on a facade to keep you safe from your fears, whether that be wanting to be liked by others and the fear of them not liking you, whether it be the fear of lack if you didn't have enough money, which the global economy, that is the heart of the systems that currently run this world, feeds on, or whether it is the fear of not, say, finding love. Love is an inner state, and it flows back to you when you actually embody that state. People who are truly woke understand all of this. Those who deny they're awake but continue living in ignorance, whether consciously or not, are not awake, because true awareness is living the truth, not merely being aware of it. Anyway, I've heard when kookaburras start doing their thing, that means basically, fuck off, man, you're on my turf. Can you please piss off? Maybe they're trying to mate or something. I don't know, I wouldn't want to be mating if there was, like, you know, people watching and whatnot. So, oh, there's one right above me. So, yep, it's definitely time to go. Yep. Say no more. Okay, Mr. Kookaburra, I'll go. I get it. Yep, I've got it. Yep, I'm just trying to end my podcast. Let me just get onto the app, and then I'll go. Sorry. All right, love you guys. Thank you very much if you've listened this far. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful for you, and I love you. And there's many different ways to love someone. It may not just be my romantic love, but I love you. Goodbye, and love and light. Goodbye.